It's about 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We had some good dialogue. I appreciate the brothers. We had a good dialogue up until 8. So we'll go ahead and get started for the sake of everyone's time. We'll try our best to be out by 9:30 p.m. And so this is Tribal Dreamer Study Group to stimulate mental unity and independence and love. Let's talk. Our website for our nonprofit 501c3 which is a vehicle. It's not the end goal. It's just used as a tool to even help us with finance, to execute some of the operations and the things that we're doing. So we just use it as a tool at the moment. And you can go to our website, which is www.ujimatribe.net. We have a community clean team that we're restarting, a chess program, and a community garden. And so you can learn more about that at our websites. We didn't meet this past second Wednesday, and so we now we're meeting here on the fourth Wednesday. So we'll be back on track, and we'll meet the second Wednesday of September as well. Go ahead, Brother Abdullah. I see you raise your hand.
Peace, everyone.
Peace.
How
Greetings.
y'all doing? All right. All right. We just started. Peace. Good to see everyone on here, man.
Peace.
Quasi doing his thing, brother. Right on.
Peace.
Kono's tomorrow. So Kono, you announce your class for tomorrow. You and Al Kanan.
Yeah, we are touching on part 2 of the why is color used in the United States, why not nationality presentation. We're doing part 2 tomorrow. And I want to apologize for the delay as well. We got some stuff for y'all, so it's worth the wait, but I apologize again for the delay.
Can't wait. I can't wait. Here you have on the screen is an event that we'll have at our
This
garden.
bathroom, I'm gonna show you what I'm having you use, but it does have bleach in it though.
Okay.
Another Abdullah Bay up here.
And then, of course, when
Abdullah Bay.
Yeah, sorry about that. Here what I have on the screen is a yoga and
Mute your mic.
Is the yoga and mocktails at the garden event, which we're always having outreach events that we have where we're able to connect. And so Sister Kim is having a yoga event at the garden. We'll have the banner, the Declaration of the Rights of the Child. We'll have people taking picture by the banner, and things of that nature at the event. Mostly every event that we have at the garden or out in the community, we try to have the banner, and we'll start pushing shirt purchases, which you'll hear about a little bit later. And so this is one of the outreach mechanisms that we'll use is yoga at the garden to reach the community and continue to build with the community. This is just a fish fry. I just showed this because that's one of the photos that I had got of a fish fry that we had. We have 2 annual fish fries, and we'll implement other stuff, like for the vegans, eggplant sandwiches, hearts of palm, and other things that we'll implement next year. But the reason I brought this up is so we can see the ongoing work as well. We can see the ongoing work that's required to maintain the little bit that we do have operating. And 2, just so that we see the importance of fundraising as it takes economics and funds. So I think we profited like $200 with this event, even though it wasn't what we wanted. It was a way to bring in, the Federal Reserve note so that we can continue to use them to operate and do some of the things that we need to do. And so this is some of the components of operating with really anybody or people. You want to be able to have fundraisers so that you can finance your operations, no matter what it is that you're doing. The medium of exchange that's being used, you want to have fundraisers to be able to help operate in what you're doing. So we do our annual fish fry fundraiser that we do it every year around the same time. We have other fundraisers as well, but this is one of the fundraisers, and we recently done it, and that's why I wanted to show this picture. The shirt that I have on is our Easter Estarte Venus, I'm Loving Venus shirts that we use for our annual Easter event. We have our fifth, matter of fact, we have our fifth annual Easter celebration. Well, you see in the background, we have the constellations. You see Venus, the different stars, the different orbits and stuff in the background of the photo. Where we will facilitate Moorish culture, symbolically through the Easter event. We'll have pamphlets that we made about 2 years ago. Brother Abdullah and another brother helped us with some pamphlets that we were using to pass out images, something that was easy to read and inviting.
Maymoon Ill.
Maymoon, yeah, Maymoon, yeah. And we created pamphlets that could be used when we go to the event. We could pass them out to kind of give them a brief. And then we started implementing this year, we started implementing a nationality game just to bring the concept of nationality. We didn't go into detail, and bore them because we know the paradigm they're in, they listen to the music. So we just sowing that seed, like brother was saying earlier about manifestation and watering and things growing in the unseen world. And so that's what we're doing with the Easter celebration that people already celebrate. So instead of us not celebrating it, and so that's the Europeans' holiday, we was able to learn more through Moroccan Post School of Government and International Law, Brother Abdullah Bey, and some of his other books and things that was able to enlighten us on our approach. Because we know that a lot of people like to assemble on that day. A lot of people get together to assemble. And so we got in where we fit in. And so now we have our annual event to outreach the community and to connect to the
Brother
community.
Quasi.
Go ahead, bro.
In the comments, Brother Abdullah is saying that he
No,
can't
that's Sister Amelia.
Okay.
She's put my name. That's Sister Amelia. I know who she is. That's
Okay.
Sister Amelia.
I can see,
Sister
but I can't hear
Amelia.
anything.
You said you can't hear? I saw that. Yeah, that's Amelia, Sister Amelia.
How does she somebody tell her to leave and come back in?
Yeah, leave her, come back in.
But if she
Amelia,
can't hear us, then she won't.
She can't
She
hear
won't
it.
hear
She
that.
won't be able to
all
hear
right,
you.
type it in. Type it in. Now, come on. Right.
And so we see this as a model, like where we can those who are willing, the different body politics, we can have these different Easter celebrations in various of our Moorish body politics in our zones, in the said states. And we can have our Easter events and we can duplicate this same model where we're pushing the same information. It's very important to push the same concept. If we're all pushing together, for restoration of more sovereignty, we need to be on one accord with pushing the information so we don't seem scattered to the newcomers, those that come in, that we have a specific purpose and mission, and so us having like celebrations all around us doing the identical thing would be very powerful, in addition to like the national campaign, how we're pushing that all over. We could push the Easter event where we're teaching astronomy, we're teaching astrology, the knowledge of the heliacal rising of Venus and how it pertains to agriculture, and the soot rising in the Nile River and planting. And so we could tie all that in, and show why the rabbit, why the egg, and just connect all this into them so that they're thinking more deeper. They're critically thinking about things rather than it's just a bunny. We get candy and go home and eat a bunch of food, and so this is something that we can duplicate in various other areas. We're looking for 60 sponsors to contribute $50 or more, 50 notes or more to the cause. We have until the end of December, hopefully, to have those sponsorships already in so we can know what we got. And we'll still take sponsorships afterwards, but we want to have them in really before the end of December so that we can know what we're looking at. And so if you want to be one of those people that you'll save $10, $15 a month, and you can help contribute to our annual Easter event. Keep yourself muted unless you're ready to speak, please, so we can flow through the presentation. Or if you can't speak because of a lot of noise, then just post in the chat and somebody should see it. And I just put this up, power to the people, just to remind ourselves that it will take finance for us to propel what we're saying for. It'll take the finance is just a medium of where we spend our energy and how we can use it to barter right now and get the things that we need to propel the movement forward, to push what we're trying to do, the restoration of more sovereignty, to push that forward, the Shem Malachi Bay's plan. You know, we need to be able to finance and have almost like dues, I would think. And so I just put this up, just take a second out to remember every study group that we have. Be sure to put something back in your box, to put something back in your jar, whether it's 2 notes, 3 notes, 4 notes, 50 cents, 30 cents. I don't care what it is, but let's practice that, because so we know what has to be done. And so we know that finance will help propel it forward. When we have certain things we need to do, people need to be in certain places that can represent what we got going on. We need to be able to collectively help people fly the baby, whatever we agree. I'm just kind of giving a general view of it, but we need to be able to get our people, our representatives, our people that we will appoint. We need to be able to make sure that they can go to certain locations to be able to speak on behalf in the international community. So let's not wait till it's needed. Let's be proactive. Like in agriculture, you have to tend to the land before you plant. So let's tend to the land and make sure that we're looking, projecting ourselves forward and not just caught up in what needs to be done, but that we're exercising what needs to be in place for it to be done. We know what needs to be done, but we have to put things in place for it to actually play itself out and manifest itself out. So be sure that you're putting your notes, and I think I got like $25, $30 put up so far. And so continue to do that. So when the bell is rung, we can say, oh, I got, 200, 20 of us got 200 to go to it. And we begin to get other things moving once we build this trust up, the consistency, routines, and that take time. That's part of we're manifesting now, just being on the Zooms and preparing ourselves, talking, having dialogue, so that we can trust in our system, our structure that we'll use to deal with the conquest and colonization. It'd be a system and a structure. And so we have to be willing to fund that system, fund that structure, and be proactive to resurrect it in the fashion of which we want to see it. And so this is the national campaign shirt. The declaration on the rights of the child is $50 for the shirt. You will get the shirt will be mailed to you. In the next slide, you're gonna see an example. It's just a brief example of how we can keep up with our dues if we choose to have dues, or just our contributions towards what we'll be doing. We'll have it organized in an Excel spreadsheet where you can, as we do the national campaign. National campaign is the same. So we got who ordered, how much they spent. And so we look at how much we raised with the national campaign. So everybody that orders shirt, this will be entered. So we have a record. We can go back and look and say, in the last first 6 months, we raised this, we did this. And record keeping, it's be very important as we contribute and pay dues, whatever we want to call it, towards funding what we're pushing, the restoration of our reversion to sovereignty and our presence in the international community will have to be funded. We have to put stuff behind it, whether it be time or resources, but the resources will be used, like I say, to do things, get people to certain areas, plane tickets, gas. We might want to present ourselves in a certain way, and etc. And so that's the national campaign. This is just a Excel spreadsheet where you can see the different size shirts ordered, the amount paid, and things of that nature. Just so we can have an idea of record keeping and logging, which will be part of our manifestation as we move forward into resurrecting what we're saying in the meetings. It has to be resurrected, and some of that operation of it will be us having records of what we do have. Don't have to be 1 million this, 100,000 of that, but what we do have will need to be in our different body politics. Your various body politics that we will have record keeping. We'll have a master record keeping where we all may send so many dues from each body politic every month, or whatever concept, whatever system of operation we agree on. That'll be what it'll end up like logging, having it logged, and information you can reflect back on. you know, so I just wanted to just put that into the atmosphere that I have not forgot, that we discussed that in previous study groups, that we need to be putting back a quarter, 50 cents. You'll be measured. You'll be measured as time progress. You know, we'll be measured. We can say what we want. You know, it takes these conversations, but not just the conversations alone. So the conversation alone is not what it takes. The conversations and the study groups help me majorly, you know, but I also have to be willing to use it, to find ways to activate it and apply it, and the level of what I can apply it on as we grow and as we connect and do other things. So I just wanted to say that, be sure every study group you're putting back something, that we're being proactive, that we're not talking this major talk and we don't know that we need to finance this in the future. And so I just wanted to offer that, as will be measured in the future, as from what we're saying here today. We also talked about the International Human Rights Summit, which will be next year, July 10th through the 12th of 2025. And so I know we was talking about having a presence at the Human Rights Summit. So those are the dates. You can log those dates. That's what they put out. I didn't come up with that date. They said July 10th through the 12th of 2025. And this is the Human Rights Summit, where we can have those shirts on. We can show, you know, that we're pushing for nationality. You know, other things will be strategic, but mark your calendars so that we can show a presence at the Human Rights Summit. The International Human Rights Summit serves as a platform for top human rights activities, dignitaries, officials, and youth to exchange ideas, develop plans of action, and forward a movement in the name of international peace. Youth for Human Rights International holds the summit with the purpose to bring education of the UDHR to the forefront of academic attention as the medium to end the inhumane violations of these rights that plague our society. And, you know, the investigative committee, we're doing our fact finding, we're learning rules and evidence of law, procedures of law. So we're able to have stuff together to show, you know, what's going on in our position, you know, and what's going on. So we're working towards those means. This won't be all that we do, but our collective effort towards having a effective presence at the Human Rights Summit will be a push forward in the right direction. Not doing it won't be a push forward. And so that's so we're moving forward on that. Since its inception in 2004, the Human Rights Summit has evolved into a venue to establish international partnerships. So we're looking to partner. We know that they're not all for us and all of that, but in order to talk agriculture, you got to put your hands in the dirt. We got to be involved and show a presence, show unity, and show that we're organized, not just want people to respect us. We have to show that we can meet, even in the what was it? It's what the defining of a state. It was in one of the but a state has to have the capacity. So when we talk about them violating us, and we have to be in the capacity to even raise those issues. We have to be able to operate and be in a certain capacity to be able to make certain claims, you know, like having a public election, you know, having a defined territory, you know, having a seal, you know, flag that we all agree on, constitution. That's framework kind of stuff. And so in order for us to have, you know, proper partnerships and be heard in the international community, we have to have our framework in place, you know, and to build a proper partnerships, because the whole world's not necessarily against us. It's just how we're operating. You know, we're operating in the dead state, so people can't really operate with you. And so we have to resurrect our mindset so that we can collaborate back in the international community, you know, and propel ourselves forward. The 18th International Human Rights Summit is graciously hosted by the Permanent Mission of Timor-Leste of the United Nations. So I guess I never been to one. I don't know if anybody has this on, but I guess this is part of how it'll look. I don't know if there's other breakdown sessions with like tables and like, you know, regular tables where people go around different tables. I'm not sure. I've never been to one. This may be one of the sessions. I don't know if anybody want to talk about their experience at one of the human rights summits and anything we should be aware of as we prepare ourselves to be there.
Yeah, Islam. I went to the 2024 summit, and basically what's on there right now is the how it's set up on the inside. That's exactly the seating. So if someone come from like Chile or Sri Lanka, they have your translator. You can just pick it up and put it on your ears so you can hear what they're saying, and vice versa. So the summit is there. Everybody's there. Different nations is there. Ambassadors are there. The U.S. ambassador was there. Uh, it's a great thing to be a part of because we're setting a tone for who we are, so the world can recognize who we are. They'll say, okay, we know who they are. Now, instead of having the negativity in the media, we have a positive output at the summit to let the world know who we are. With that, I yield the floor.
And that's positioning ourselves. That's powerful to position ourselves. As we know, media is one of the silent weapons of warfare. Well, that's today's presentation is silent weapons of war, if you all missed it. And so we just tying this all in. Now, do I wonder, do we have to send something in beforehand to say that we'll be at the Human Rights Summit? Do anybody know? Because if they're there, like represent Chile or represent these certain nation states, I wonder.
That card I sent you, that was the hostess to the event of this. So call her up or email her so you can be recognized by her, so she can walk you through the steps of what it takes to be a part of the presentation. Because they have the youth summit, and they allow the youth from different countries to speak. So we can do that too. But
Okay.
that card I sent you, you can contact her, and she can walk you through the steps for next summit for next year.
Okay.
With that, I yield the floor.
Islam. All right. Anybody got anything else they want to say on this?
I'd like to know, not to divert the conversation, but what is the quiet war? You mentioned the silent weapon is one of the weapons, or is the media. So what is the quiet war?
That's what we're finna get into now. This is part 2 today. Let me go to the next slide. Yeah, I'm finna ask. So you can actually go to Helping Our People Elevate. That's a YouTube channel. You go to YouTube, you go to Helping Our People Elevate, and then you can go to this slide. He has it named, Brother Kono has it named as Kawazi Ujima Tribe Silent Wars. And that's the first presentation. And this is the second presentation. And it may be a part 3 and 4. And what we'll learn more about what the silent weapons of warfare is in the next couple slides.
Okay, thank you.
But be sure to go to Helping Our People Elevate and subscribe to the YouTube channel. The brother posts a lot of information that will help alleviate the stress of where we are as a people, a lot of concepts and principles that we need that you can gain through some of the presentations. So be sure to go to Helping Our People Elevate and subscribe and check out the videos and everything that he has to offer on his channel. And that's Brother Kono. Tomorrow there'll be a presentation as well. Tomorrow. And what was the name of that presentation again, bro?
We're doing the part 2 of the why is color used in the United States, why not nationality? Why is color used in the United States, why not nationality? Presented by myself and Brother El Kanan.
And so don't miss it. You all do not miss it. Do not miss it. Also go to Moroccan Post Media on YouTube and subscribe as well to there. You get a lot of free classes and courses on a lot of things you would like to know. So go there, look at the title, the heading of some of the YouTube posts, and that'll help you decide, what the content will be on that post. But it's packed with information, and I'm sure you'll be able to gain something from going there and getting those free courses. And so Silent Weapons for a Quiet War, Part 2, August 29th, Wednesday, at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you see on the screen, Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. That's what we're going to read over briefly. It's a little bit part of the manual, and then we'll go back into capitulations, as that's what we left off on, was capitulations at our last study group session. And so Silent Weapons for a Quiet War is an introductory programming manual. And then on the screen here, you see a gun, you see spelling, you see the connotative meaning of religion, you see these symbols that actually have functions. You see a bomb, food, education, which John Dewey and others, manipulated the meaning of education to benefit their operations and conquest of our land. And then you see language, rules, regulations, environment, policies, criminal, lawmakers. All of this you see, and others are part of a silent weapon where they do this. So they, like a bullet shoots a projectile that penetrates the organs that cause internal bleeding or whatever to make you die. And then you have silent weapons. A silent weapon is something that's projected, it's shot at you, it penetrates your thinking, your concepts, your procedures, your process towards how you operate in a community, how you operate with your kinsmen, how you operate with other nations, how you operate in commerce, how you operate, in all these different factions. And so they're shooting a projectile, whether they're using media. So media is one of those projectiles that they shoot and they disrupt your way of thinking as a bullet penetrates. And I don't know why I keep unmuting. I keep muting them back. And so these are some of the silent weapons of quiet war. Education is being used to usurp our sovereignty because the church, well, it's not education, but the connotative meaning, their projective meaning of education, they're using it as a weapon to keep us in a state of dependency, a state of I need to go get a job type thinking. I need, ABCD type thinking, and so that's been weaponized. That's a silent weapon of war, the public school system. Go ahead.
Okay, quick question. So would you say that, for example, the video game Grand Theft Auto, like how that desensitizes Black men to murdering and robbing?
Right.
Is that a good example?
Right. It's a gradual. So what they do it even with spelling and language. You'll see a gradual change of the public meaning of words, or how the people use certain words. You'll see a gradual change, like they use Grand Theft Auto as a gradual desensitizing mechanism. So now you see the results. So we're looking at the results in our community. We see people getting shot. Them same people play Grand Theft Auto. They play the video games. They watch the movies. They maybe listen to what they was talking about on the news. Everybody getting blowed up. All this, everything we go to, is manipulating our reality. And Philip K. Dick, his quote was, the easiest manipulation of reality is the manipulation of words. If you can change the meaning of words, if you can create the meaning of words, you can manipulate the people who must use the words. And so yes, Grand Theft Auto, the video games, they being used to desensitize the children, a lot of sex, the same sex stuff, even in cartoons also being used in media. And the whole point is to keep us in the military fashion capitulated, which is a term we'll look at, which is meaning surrender and armed conflicts and military law, but it's also ancient, older meaning of capitulation that dealt with just merchants and trading. And the reason why we was led to the word capitulate is because in the silent weapons for a quiet war manual, they used the word to get the people ready to capitulate. And so they using military tactics, and one of their military tactics are those silent weapons. One of the military tactics is those silent weapons. And a lot of people don't know that they're being used as a weapon. So they go to these different schools and they study, they research, try to find information on behalf of whatever they're trying to find it on, but they don't consciously know that this is being used. You know, some of them don't consciously know. And so it's not to point the finger and say everybody's against us, you know, when we talk like this, but it's to know that it's there and to reason with the situation based on our resources and what we can do. And so this is part of what we can do, is to facilitate Shem Malachi Bey's plan to restore our position so that we can remove some of the silent weapons, if not all of them, by pushing this forward in a timely manner. So the Grand Theft Auto is a silent weapon because it does desensitize and make our children go rob and do it. That alone don't make them do it, but then they got the music, you know, then they don't have role models. A lot of the father figures got locked up, you know, or they fought in the army and died, you know, or they got sick or they on drugs. And so it's a little bit of all of it. It's just not the video game itself is making people go rob. It's not, but it's the environment. So what they do with the silent weapons is create an environment of chaos and a lot of ignorance and confusion. And when you keep a people in that state, it's more so the state of mind that they're creating with the media, the education, the video games, you know, the food, you know, etc. that makes up. So they're creating our environment. They're weaponized. Everything's weaponized. Everything we do in our environment, all the way down to the oxygen we breathe, is being contaminated and manipulated. And it's not just video games alone. I wouldn't say that, but it's a multitude of the makeup of it all is and we can't control any of it because we don't have a constitutional body to be able to regulate it on the political side. And so we can't regulate what games, we can't regulate anything, you know, because we don't have agreement amongst ourselves. And we collectively don't know the operation of using our nationality in the international community. We have a lot of people that know they're Moors, but they refuse to work together in the political realm because of whatever reason they got to say. And so this is what we're trying to facilitate, is our political protection so that we can gear or shade out under the shade tree. You'll see that in the Houdini Confederacy. We'll shade out all this. We'll shade out a lot of this stuff by having protection in the political realm of our commerce, you know, our education, our human rights, which ties all this other stuff in. And so I went on and on. I hope I answered what you were trying to say.
Yes, you did. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. And so for control of the masses through manipulation of industry, people's pastimes, education, and political leanings, it called for a quiet revolution, putting brother against brother and diverting the public's attention from what is really going on. And so this is what we read on the last study group. And I just wanted to bring this back so we can see the word capitulation. And so that's why we went there. And this is also a term of international law. So they playing on words strategically. You know, they do what they do strategically. Social engineering, the analysis and automation of a society, requires the correlation of great amounts of constant changing economic information, data. So people, you know, they caught up in AI and they don't see that as an attack in the future. Because it's just another way you can't think of your own business plan. You can't think of anything critically. You just go ask AI. But when a war or something activates, and now you got to actually be able to critically think. So they just getting ready. These are all put in place to get you ready to capitulate. So when stuff hits the fan, your concepts are not together, and you don't think that it's possible to go against what's being presented. And so we being dumbed down a gradual. You'll see also in the silent weapons for a quiet war is a gradual dumb down. This is a weapon before us right now, AI and other things, that's being used as a weapon. But AI is something on this that's rising. A lot of people like to talk about it. And it's just as a weapon as Project 2025 or 3689, 67, whatever project. It's, and so all of this stuff is happening, and so there's a lot of weapons being presented. But the goal is to get us to capitulate, which is to surrender, which they already dismantled our government structure. So we don't have our consuls in place to be able to meet the obligation of the treaties, where you have capitulation was later known as extraterritoriality, extraterritoriality. And so we'll tie that in too later. And so social engineering, the analysis and automation of a society requires the correlation of great amounts of constant changing of economic information, of data. So a high-speed computerized data processing system was necessary, which could race ahead of the society and predict when the society would arrive for capitulation. Relay computers were too slow, but the electronic computers invented in 1946 by J. Presper Eckert and John W. Mauchly filled the bill. The next breakthrough was the development of the simplex method of linear programming in 1947 by the mathematician George B. Dantzig. Then in 1948, the transistor invented by J. Barton, W. H. Bratton, and W. Shockley promised great expansion of the computer field by reducing space and power requirements. And just when I meditate on certain stuff, that's why I can appreciate Brother Abdullah Bays and the Shams, and for all the work what they do for pulling us out of this freezer that we was in, that we're still in, that we're growing out of. Because these people are people, how they talk about, they say mathematician. I mean, he went to a school. He was able to go learn, and then he became that because of the efforts of the teachers, the efforts of the professors. He didn't become that himself. And so this is why this is important. And that's why I salute and I love Brother Abdullah Bay for all that they do, is because this is part of the process. We can't effectively operate if we don't know what's going on. We can't be effective. And so these people were groomed so that they could go out and create, whether they knew why the computer would be used or not. I don't know if they knew why it would be used, or they just felt like they was creating things. But it has been weaponized and can socially engineer. And social engineering is what connects you to your political standing and your status, meaning it connects you because how you talk and what you know is what you can express in the international. If you don't know certain things, you don't even know you need to express anything in the international community. You won't have knowledge that is needed. You'll push for civil rights. You'll push for your Second Amendment, whatever we're thinking, our Second Amendment right from the United States Constitution. We'll be thinking, so we won't have the proper concepts to be effective and what will help our people in the future. So I just wanted to take that time out because I've seen some people talking that, what are we doing? We're just talking. We're just having meetings, But if you don't have educated people, you could be dismantled, misused. That's why I commend. I see what it takes, and so it takes a lot to be able to deal with a lot of people and to educate them and get them proper concepts. That takes a lot. That may be harder than what the military got to go do for the actual act of it. Because, but we'll get, I'm not gonna get into that, but I wanted to just say that so we can look at this as part of how we correct our thinking of the weapons that's being used. Because whether we do anything or not, they're being used. Whether we do anything or not, they're still being used to keep us in this state of thinking. All these things going on, keeping us in this frame of thought. And so we have to have correct concepts so that we can make the right move for the future generations. The Quiet War, quietly declared by the international elite at a meeting held in 1954, although the silent weapons system was nearly exposed 13 years later, the evolution of the new weapon system has never suffered any major setbacks. This volume marks the 25th anniversary of the beginning of the quiet war. Already, this domestic war has had many victories on many fronts throughout the world. So they show you what's going on. And so today we're going to look at Frederick F. Martin on the Office of Consul and Consular Jurisdiction in the East. And capitulation is so that it makes room for consuls in the treaty for the consuls to operate and activate the treaty. The consuls are positioned in the treaties to be able to operate so the capitulation can be operated, you know, and so that's why we're going to look at consular jurisdiction, is because that's connecting us to the extraterritoriality clauses that's found in the treaties. And we also going to look at the international armed conflict of capitulation and international armed conflicts, how capitulation is used. So we'll look at capitulation from two different mirrors, which both of them is still being used against us. Both forms of capitulation, where they get us to surrender, we send our children to the public school system, that's surrendering, to agree to be Black, Negro, and colored. That's every time we fill out an application, a resume, you know, whatever we fill out, that's the census, you know, getting a job. Even though we got to work a job, they got us in a state of surrender, because we're giving up what our human right, our substantive rights, whether we know or not. Is the situation has been framed that we'll give up these rights. So we're in disagreement through operation. We're in disagreement with the treaties because we're not operating with that mindset collectively in the international community. Go ahead, somebody's gonna say something. And so we're gonna read over Frederick M. Mayton on the Office of Consular, in the Office of Consul and Consular Jurisdiction in the East. Exploring consular jurisdiction. These are some of the sections that we'll read. Exploring consular jurisdiction as an aspect of international administration to the benefit of the international community, the paradox of consular powers. So to show that we're giving this up through, so the way that they maintain this position is through the false education, you know, through, you know, media, you know, pushing attorneys, you know, pushing the Black paradigm. These are all mechanisms, silent weapons that's being used for us to capitulate. Therefore, what? Give up our consular relation, give up our diplomatic relations, which is our obligation in the treaty. We giving up our own treaty obligation, saying that they violate it, but we violate it. We first got to be in order to check them. So this is what this is about. And so that's part of maintaining our surrendering, is to does not have knowledge that it's territorial control. We know that they're not from the land. And a lot of people say this is our land, so we don't need consular courts. But you will see in some of this information we're gonna read that we talking territorial control, territorial sovereignty. And so that's why the consular jurisdiction will come into place, because why? We don't control the natural resources. We can't enter agreements with other states to be able to make certain claims of the conquest. And so they using these silent weapons to keep us at bay, you know, to keep us comfortable. You know, I got my shirt, I got Black Lives Power, I can go march, and with guns out, so since you can do all that stuff, you feel like you're making noise, you know, you're effective, you know, because, you know, you can go out and march with guns. You can get 100 million people together and go marching. And so they keeping us in a state of mindset, giving up our consular powers. And so this raises us up in the capacities, the different capacities of jurisdiction, the color of law jurisdiction that they use on us, you know, as cattle. And so yes, a consular jurisdiction as an instrument of raising the level of civilization. A consular's jurisdiction as an instrument of raising the level of civilization. Religion as a mirror and determining factor of the level of civilization. We'll see so they talking the connotative meaning of religion, where, you know, you had seers, you know, and things of that nature, but that's what framed what we know as law is the concepts of what people know as religion. And so religion as a mirror, that's why you see Christianity and Islam you see that being an issue, is because it's not just information for people to go worship something. It's a control mechanism that connects politics and how they can control the land. And so we'll read about that as another weapon. Its language is the weapon. The religion itself is not the weapon, but they using the connotative meaning as on religion to push what they're pushing. You'll see even African states, some of them say they Christians now. And so you'll see, that's why they say in different parts of the world. So if you see certain things, you can kind of identify where they're operating, how they're operating based on what's going on in certain areas. And then this is section 4, overview of international humanitarian law provisions concerning the end of international armed conflict. And we'll look at these few categories: conception of international armed conflict, state of war, international armed conflict, and belligerent occupation. You'll see where they list us as belligerents. So it's okay to go murder a bunch of them because they outside of everything, you know, and so we operating however we want to operate. And it's another term that they use, belligerent and uncivilized. It's other terms, but what we'll read, we'll see uncivilized, you know, uncivilized people, belligerents, etc. And so they the condition we're in, they can pretty much do as they want with us and publicly still look like they, you know what I mean, like they justify in what they're doing based on how we're operating, you know. And so we're in a position. And so this is important and critical what we're doing, because it's to activate action, you know, uniform action on how we move forward on what's already being done. Nothing else needs to happen. It's enough happening already why we need to act. Not just only have a conversation about it, but that's first though. But know that we'll be measured as we pull ourselves. If we go forward, push ourselves forward, all this will be measured. And you have, and this is what Sister Picola was saying when we was talking about capitulations in the last study group, where I had mentioned the war meaning. And then, but we'll see what, like she was saying, capitulation, there's a older meaning to capitulation. So we'll read about that in a few of these slides here to get a better understanding of capitulation in a political sense, not necessarily war, but in a political sense. And what happens in the treaty is not necessarily the capitulations and armed conflict. And so Christian Bale, capitulations, content type, encyclopedia entries, article last updated 2009 of July. And I'll go down to subjects: military matters, armed forces, peacekeeping, published under the auspices of the Max Planck Institute for Comparative Public Law and International Law under the direction of Professor Annie Peters. And Professor, and so these folks, they say professor, meaning they went somewhere and got, you know, see, though, that's always going to be the process, us going to the academy, you know. So we're all on the uniform mindset. Everybody that we read about and talk about, you know, they went to school, you know, they got the right proper concept, what they was trying to do. They got the proper concepts on what they were trying to do. And then they learned about what they needed to maintain their position. So, you know, the term capitulation in international law refers to the capitulation regimen, that is, the system of treaties concluded by certain states which confer the privilege of extraterritorial jurisdiction within their boundaries on the subjects of another state. So it's the system of treaties concluded by certain states which confer the privilege of extraterritorial jurisdiction within their boundaries on the subjects of another state. And we'll look at some examples and some treaties here shortly. This system was largely dismantled in the period between World War I and World War II. The origins of the concept of capitulations lie in the word capitulo or chapter, reflecting the fact that the provisions were set out in various chapters. Originally, the term did not have connotation of surrender. So that came later, the surrender part of it. And this is going to Martin's. We'll read about Martin's here shortly. While Martin's reasoning obviously testifies to his contempt for the civilizational state of we're the Oriental states. And so we the Oriental states. When Martin's reasoning obviously testifies to his contempt for the civilizational state of the Oriental states and chauvinist attitudes he shared with most of his contemporaries, it should be noted that the institution of consular jurisdiction was not problematic in itself, at least not in the early phase of consular jurisdiction. It has been rightly pointed out that the Ottoman Empire, when granting its first capitulations in the 16th century, was at its zenith of power. It was only later that the term capitulation became synonymous with surrender. And that's going in the section that we'll read, the phenomenon of consular jurisdiction. That's just a brief of it. And so you have here, so we see why we're talking consular courts, because capitulations deals with extraterritoriality jurisdiction, and extraterritoriality jurisdiction is expressed by consuls. So that's why the capitulation is bringing us to consular courts. Do everybody get that connection while we're here talking about consular courts off of capitulation? Or did we lose somebody? Because I want to just make sure that we, being effective, that we clear on how did we get from capitulation to consular courts, or it's gonna be we're gonna be lost in the sauce. Are we clear on it? We need to expound more on something?
No.
Okay, because like I said, I'm still growing. And
well, that's just me speaking because of me, but everybody else got to say where they at.
We don't want to move too fast. If anybody, just speak up so we can. It's to help me be better. As I'm just trying to do my best as I still learn as well. So collective learning is effective where we all pitch in. Is how we all gonna grow. And so Cornell Law Library, Scholarship Cornell Law, a digital repository, historical thesis and dissertation collection, historical Cornell Law School, 1893 consular courts. And so the treaty, because when they talked about the two states, so the United States is a state, Morocco is a state, nation state, United States, is a state. And so these are the two states in this treaty. The treaty between the United States and Morocco gives to the consul. And then so for us to have a consul, we can't just make a website and say, I'm a consul. So now we're talking processes and procedures of recognized law that we have to meet in order to be in the capacity of entering relations with other states. If we're not in the proper form, we can't just, he a consul, but there's no head of state. There's no public election, of electing the head of state. Then the head of state appoints the consul. What's the duties of your, everything has to be listed and expressed through language. And so we have not done that. So there are no consuls that represent Negro, Black, and colored people. The treaty between the United States and Morocco gives to the consul of the former exclusive jurisdiction in disputes among the citizens of the United States. And in criminal cases, it is provided by the 21st article of the same treaty, which reads as follows. If a citizen of the United States should kill or wound a Moor, or on the contrary, if a Moor shall kill or wound a citizen of the United States, the law of the country shall take place. And so that's a capitulation, because it didn't always, that wasn't the case always, that the law of the country would take place. That was a privilege given in this treaty to the United States, where if a, because you had the Betsy, I forgot the year, the USS Betsy, you'll see the United States ships being seized, you know, and different things when they declared their independence and they went through that process. And so that means there were disputes, there were altercations had to be happening. If the
I
USS
think that's 1782 or 83.
said, okay.
Mhm.
And so if that was happening, if the ship was being, if that happened to the ship, that mean that disputes were happening. Somebody's gonna come take your ship. That mean people could be killed or wounded in that process. So then you'll see. So why would they end that? Why would they put that here? That mean because it had to be. I mean, you know, it had to be happening then. United States citizens had to be getting killed and wounded by Moors. There would be no need to put it in here. And so in this treaty, they receive extraterritorial jurisdiction to deal with judicial matters in this clause. If a citizen of the United States shall kill or wound a Moor, or on the contrary, if a Moor shall kill or wound a citizen of the United States, the law of the country shall take the place. So that's one of the clauses of so now consular court need to be executed. And the consul will operate as the judge in some matters on behalf of their nationals. And so you can't just pop up and be a consul tomorrow because you got a website and you got, you know, different, what you call them, you got different memorandums of law on your website and different cases that you copy and paste it. That doesn't make us a consul. There's a process to go with it. And the law of the country takes place. The equal justice shall be rendered. The consul assisting at the trial, and if any delinquent shall make his escape, the consul shall not be held liable. And so that's an example of what capitulation later became known as extraterritoriality, and that was the need of consular courts to execute that. This is that was Article 21, but this is the other articles in that same treaty. Anybody want to read Article 20, 22, and 23? This is the Article of Peace and Friendship between His Emperor Majesty Muhammad Ibn Abdullah and the United States. This is Article 20 through 23, which will give us an idea of capitulation.
If any of the citizens of the United States or any person under their protection shall have any dispute with each other, the consul shall decide between the parties, and whenever the consul shall require any aid or assistance from our government to enforce his decision, it shall be immediately granted to him. Article 21. If any citizen of the United States should kill or wound a Moor, or on the contrary, if a Moor shall kill or wound a citizen of the United States, the law of the country shall take place, and equal justice shall be rendered. The consul assisting at the trial, and if any delinquent shall make his escape, the consul shall not be answerable for him in any manner whatever. Article 22. If an American citizen shall die in our country, and no will shall appear, the consul shall take possession of
His effects.
effect, and if there shall be no consul, the effect shall be deposited in the hands of some person worthy of trust, until the party shall appear, who has right to demand them. But if the heir to the person deceased be present, the property shall be delivered to him without interruption. And if a will shall appear, the property shall descend agreeable to that will as soon as the council shall declare the validity thereof.
So we're not even
Article-
operating as an heir to the Moroccan estate through operation. So how can we justify our position if we not, how can we be an heir if we identifying as Negro, Black, and colored? You know, and so that, and why would the Moroccan Empire be having a treaty with the United States if they didn't influence that same area? What would be the point? You know, so just the treaty alone gives us an idea of who controlled the area. So there must be another treaty with somebody, you know, but it's not though. And you know, they could have had a treaty with the Ottoman Empire. Why wasn't it with the Ottoman Empire? But go ahead, bro.
Article 23. The consuls of the United States of America shall reside in any port of our dominions that they shall think proper, and they shall be respected and enjoy all the privileges which the consuls of any other nation enjoy. And if any of the citizens of the United States shall contract any debt or engagement, the consul shall not be in any manner accountable for them, unless he shall have given a promise in writing for the payment or fulfilling thereof, without which promise in writing no application to him for any redress shall be made.
Oh, damn. It's long. And so,
Wow.
so you'll see us giving a portion of privileges to the, because that they couldn't do that before, because they had to declare their independence. They were operating as a new state, a nation state, and so they didn't have political protection dealing with the powers of the Atlantic and the Mediterranean Sea. So they needed to have that for commercial trading, and that was the originality of what the concept of capitulation was, dealing with the merchants and having, you know, dealing with the merchant trading, and then then later it birthed into judicial decisions. And so we'll continue to the next article. Anybody got any comments or questions? Anything they want to add to this? All right. And so same thing I read earlier, Consular Court, Scholar Cornell, you know, this, we're gonna read the right side here. By the Treaty of 1844 between the United States and China, it was stipulated as follows. Article 21st, subjects of China who may be guilty of any criminal activity toward citizens of the United States shall be arrested and punished by Chinese authorities according to the laws of China. And citizens of the United States who may commit any crime in China, in the territorial boundaries of China, shall be subject to be tried and punished only by the consul or other public functionary of the United States. Thereto, so this is an example of China capitulating, giving, you know, extraterritoriality to the United States to operate in certain ways. Go ahead, bro. Sadiq.
Yes, I want to kind of see because I remember there was an incident with a basketball player that went into Russia. I think they had some kind of legal marijuana or whatever, and it was trying to get the person time. I don't really know what happened, but I know they got back. Did that dang, I'm trying to say that word that you was just using.
Capitulation.
Yeah. Yes. Did they use any of those things to deal with that matter, or was it just between those?
Let him answer his own question, Quasi. I need you facilitate so he can answer his own question. Facilitate it. So have him answer his own question. Just facilitate that process. Get him to think so he can answer his own question.
Okay.
So let's go back to understanding what capitulation is. What, understanding. So let's review the definition, and so that he can see based on it's based on the definition. So just have him read this. Saeed, you want to
Yes, I'm here.
read. I want you to read, so you can answer the question yourself.
Okay.
You want to answer your own question.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So by reading, I want you to read at the top.
Okay,
At
the
the
one
top,
right
and
here.
then while you're reading, you wanna think this, since you know the scenario about Brittany Griner. That's Brittany Griner. All right. A sister, it's Brittany Griner. Since you know this, talking about the situation of Brittany Griner, and
Yes.
you know what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Did this happen? I want you to read this, right? So
Okay.
go ahead, by the treaty.
Yes. By the Treaty of 1844 between the United States and China, it was stipulated as follows. The Article 21st subjects of China's who may be guilty of any
Criminal
crime,
act.
criminal act
That's the
to,
marijuana you said. That was a criminal.
yes,
That's
okay,
Mhm.
criminal act to wards, I can't see that, citizens, I can't
right.
see that,
Is it too little?
Citizens.
critical citizens of the United States shall be arrested and punished by the Chinese authorities according to the laws of China.
All right. So did Brittany Griner. So was Brittany Griner, was she arrested by United States officials in Russia? Was
No,
Brittany Griner
no,
arrested by United States
no,
officials in China and published under United States laws?
no, she was not.
All right. So therefore,
Okay.
the
Mhm.
conclusion is therefore
Yeah, they did not do it.
extraterritoriality. Can I say it? Therefore, extraterritoriality
Yeah,
that
it
did
did
not.
not apply.
There you go.
Mhm. Thank you.
There you go.
He didn't have that kind of protection.
There's no. Mhm.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, that's all. Just wanted to just analyze. Once you understand all right,
Yes.
okay, this the application. So the application of extraterritorial didn't apply because there's no extraterritoriality clause
Mhm.
in with the treaty between Russia and the United States.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And citizens of the United States who may commit any crime in China shall be subject to be tried and punished only by the consul or other public functionary of the United States, thereto authorized according to the laws of the United States, and in order to the prevention of all controversies and dissatisfaction, justice shall be equitably and impartially administered on both sides. Article 24. Hold on. All right. Hold on 1 second here. All right. Article 24. And if controversies arise between citizens of the United States and subjects of China, which cannot be amicably settled otherwise, the same shall be examined and decided comfortably to justice and equity by the public officers of the two nations acting in conjunction. And I wanted to pull this up. This is the Constitution of the People's Republic of China. It's just the first section of it, but it identifies the people though. And so that's the same concept we got to have to identify how we operate. It's say the Constitution of the People of Morocco, and so but the United States Constitution don't read it like that. Cause I know a lot of people, they are not gonna go into it, but they say we're part and parcel or part or parcel of the said United States only because somebody said it. I'm not knocking that concept, but I'm saying because somebody said it is why though, and so but there's no constitution that identifies Moors as the people that is protecting. And so I went to the Constitution of the Republic of China just to see how it read, to see what did they Constitution say. And so it identifies the people. You look amended in accordance with the amendments of the Constitution of the people of the Republic of China. I didn't need to read anything else because it identified it. Whatever you read is so this Constitution is not talking about the people of Russia. It is not talking about the people of nowhere else. And so the United States, we can't just assume, even if people were present that look like us, it doesn't, the language don't identify protection for us. And so that's why I wanted to add that in. Because even, and you seen what they talked about in the silent weapons of the war, they talked about even manipulating basically the past lives of people. So they even willing to take the works of people that, that of people before us and manipulate it to fit their agenda. That's what I got from that. So they're using the processing data, the high speed. They will also take the works of the Abdullah Beys in the future. They'll take his works and try to alter it to fit their agenda. And so we know that part of their agenda is for us not to be in a position of international legitimacy, political legitimacy. They don't want us. They want us to say that we're United States. That benefits them for us to say we nationals of the United States. Forget who said it. The no war and what's going on, and it benefits them for us to say that we nationals of the United States, because whoever said it benefits them when we say that, because we don't have a constitution that identifies the people, a contract that we can hold ourselves liable for to be able to get back to talking to the international community. We don't even know how we operate amongst each other, and so yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Shit, Malachi Bay.
Yes, sir.
Right on.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace, Shem.
Peace.
You have this is Japan, same concept. The treaties only provided for commerce by the Treaty of 1857 between the United States and Japan. It was provided that Americans, and how they using it, how I'm reading it, they just using United States and Americans, and they out interchangeably as if that is, so when they using American in this sense, they talking about the people of the United States on how, unless somebody else is getting something else out of that. By the Treaty of 1857 between the United States and Japan, it was provided that Americans committing offenses in Japan should be tried by the American Consul General or Consul and should be punished according to American laws. Japanese committing offenses against Americans shall be tried by the Japanese authorities and punished according to Japanese law. So we got to find a treaty that say and should be punished according to Black people's laws, be punished according to African American people's laws, to be punished according to Indian laws, to be punished, so we got to look at
according to white people law. White people law. Where's that? That's not a nationality. White's not a nationality, so you're not going to see a treaties. White people law. The white nation. That's not a. So what? There's just like we're going to put the attention that we put on Black, we're going to put the same attention on white. It applies to white too. What he says about Black, African American, Negro colored, it also applies to white. White's not a nationality. You're not going to read the treaty between the white nation and France, the white nation in South Africa, the white nation in Germany, the white nation versus the people of the white nation, the people Republic of the white nation versus, you're not going to see that either. So that same thing we talk about Negro color Black, African American, we're going to put the same thing on white too. We're not going to discriminate. We're not going to discriminate against the word white.
Yeah, the treaty.
No discrimination here. Equal protection. Equal attention. Equal attention. This is equal attention, y'all. Like an equal attention. Well, the same attention we put on Black, Negro, colored, African American, we put that same attention on white.
It's long. Go ahead,
That's
Shem.
not discriminate. That's not
Oh.
discriminate against the white.
That's right, because the Treaty of Peace and Friendship is set between Morocco and the United States. It don't say between Morocco and the white nation or Morocco and the white man. It doesn't say that. So that Abdullah Bay is right. So if it say United States, what is the United States? A host of European nationality, people of nationalities come together, forming a political jurisdiction, infrastructure.
Well,
Together.
no, they're British subjects, Jim. No, it wasn't Jim. Let's provide for clarity. No, it's not. It's the. Let's go. So we can. This is for clarity. Because we want to. All right. They're British subjects. British subjects are the ones that fought against their mother.
Yes.
British subjects. The British subjects lived in the South Carolina colony, the North Carolina colony, the Pennsylvania colony, Georgia colony, New York colony, New Jersey colony. All right, they're British subjects. English, British. That's they subjects. British subjects. The British subjects rose up, not people from Germany, not people from France, not French subjects, not German subjects, not Russian subjects, not Polish subjects. British subjects lived along the Atlantic sea coast on our land.
Yeah.
In the English/British colonies. They're British subjects.
Yep, that's true.
The British subjects rose up against their mother. The British subjects were part of forming constitutional conventions. In 1775, 1776, they formed constitutional conventions and drafted constitutions. So when they signed the Declaration of Independence in 1776, they signed as states. New Jersey state is not the same as New Jersey colony.
Absolutely, that's right.
New South Carolina state is not the same as South Carolina colony. South Carolina state is the crown. South Carolina colony, that's the crown. The charter, South Carolina charter, was South Carolina charter granted by the British Crown. So there's the Declaration of Independence signed by the 13 states that were formed in 1775 and 1776. They rose up against their mother, the British Crown, and that is known as the Revolutionary War. Yep. In 1777, they drafted the Articles of Confederation. The Articles of Confederation was drafted during wartime. In 1777, 4 years later, the Articles of Confederation came into effect in 1781. And so we clear that they're British subjects, not French subjects. The French subjects were here. The French subjects were during that same time. The French subjects were on our land. They were where? Where were the French subjects? The French subjects during that time period were in the Louisiana territory. Louisiana named after King Louis XIV. The French subjects were here.
Yep, that's right.
But they're not the same as the British subjects. So the British subjects lived along the Atlantic seacoast. The French subjects lived in the Louisiana territory. The Spanish subjects lived where? The Spanish subjects were where? Along the western seacoast. Yeah. So they had Spanish subjects along the western seacoast, California, Arizona, Colorado, Texas, Utah. Yep. All right, so we got Spanish subjects, all right, French subjects, and English subjects on our land all at the same time. And you also had Dutch subjects.
That's right. That's right.
Because Great Britain took over from the Dutch in 1664. It was the Dutch. The Dutch were great surveyors. The Dutch were the ones that surveyed. They surveyed Camden and Gloucester and part of New Jersey and South Carolina and New York. The Dutch surveyed. The British took over the Dutch survey.
That's what that piece of land.
1664.
Right, that piece of land that the king took over, he gave that to his brother, Duke of York, didn't he?
Yes, Duke of York. King Charles II granted a charter to his brother, James II. James II is Duke
That was the
of
land. That was
York. He
Dutch
was
land.
Duke.
The piece of land that British took from the
Yes.
Dutch.
Well, a Moorish land that the Dutch took
Right.
over from the Moors. Moorish
Right.
land that the Dutch took over from the Moors. The Dutch exercised Dutch territorial sovereignty. The Dutch surveyed. So the survey, that's the title. All right, the title, the conquesting title is the survey. They have surveyors. So the title is the charters. The survey is placed in the charters. North Carolina Charter. That's a title. North Carolina Charter is a title, land title. South Carolina Charter, William Penn Charter, that's a land title. The charters are land titles. Why you say that, Abdullah? Because the survey is described in the charters. Article 2, Article 1, Article 2 of the 1783 Definitive Peace Treaty between Great Britain and the United States are land titles. That's the land title within Article 1, Article 2. Article 2 is the survey of this Northwest Ordinance, part of Minnesota, Ohio, Indiana, so forth. So I'm gonna end there. I just wanted to provide very clarity with specificity. I want to be very specific, so that's very clear. So I gave y'all references. You don't need to say Abdullah said anything. You don't need to say Abdullah said anything. I gave you references. You never have to say Abdullah said anything, ever.
Yep, giving references. That's true. Giving the evidence to go to.
It's long. And then another thing, it doesn't say Moorish America. It don't say by the Treaty of 1857 between the United States and Moorish Americans. You know, or between, you know, it's gonna say Moors. It's just gonna read, it won't read the word Moor. So what does that come about? You know, the Moorish American. And so we got to, in the investigative youth committee, we learn about fact finding and identifying the parties of the contract. We have to identify with the parties of the contract. To be old and original, we have to identify what's already existing. So
That's true, man. When France went to the World Court against the United States, the true identity of the people came out, and all of old Moorish treaties came up, Moroccan treaties. In the letter of the Secretary of State of France to the United States here, the slogan was Native Moors. That is the people of the land, Native Moors. That was brought out in a memorial that was given by the World Court. Native Moors. So when the state they claim as who's the heirs of the land, we came up with the Native Moors, not Moorish American, not American Indian, not Indian, nobody. Native Moors. And that was in the memorial between France and the United States in the World Court. I didn't make this up. Go to the memorial between France and France and the United States. A memorial is like a memorandum of law that would be attached to a pleading. Any kind of pleading in the court, you attach a memorandum of law. With the Hague, you would attach a memorial. Memorial is a fact of norms, ancient norms, principles, and laws. Judications that were drawn up anciently that would show proof of claim to the World Court. And when France did that, France relied on all the old Moor treaties. And the status was Native Moors. So that's evidence of record on the World Court level. Post-millennium, Native Moors. So if they're addressing the people of the land as Native Moors, everything else is fiction. Afro-American, the word Negro didn't come up. Negro, Afro-American, Black, Indian, none of that came up at all. Native Moor.
And so we see the power of silent weapons. It's still projecting a situation. In the silent weapons manual, it talked about creating situations. So long as they can get us to identify as a party outside of our obligation, then they're winning. It don't matter who they get you to think you are that. They can, it don't matter if they send whoever with gold vest on, and they say you're rabbits. We all used to be rabbits. And he looked good and he got what he got on. And now they got us thinking we rabbit. It don't matter who say to you what you're gonna be, long as they get you to identify as a part outside of the contract, they back there clapping and shouting, him flips. It don't matter what you say you're gonna be. And so that's one of the weapons. And that's one of the powerful weapons where they're able to maintain their conquest is by getting us to identify as someone not part of any contract or treaty known to humanity. And so that's why we're looking over this like in this manner. We're taking our time, we're going slow, is because every day we're surrendering this. We're giving this up because we have failed to exercise international principles amongst the international community. And
they kill the character. What they do is they're killing the character. See, in consequently, you have to have a character, a son or a daughter, or someone attached to their mother. So what they do, they kill the national character of the parties by killing national character and creating fiction or animated cartoon character, so that they can govern that because that's their creation. That Walt Disney controlled Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, Peter Pan. Well, it's just the same thing. Negro, controlled by Spanish, Indian, British, Black, French, Afro-American, colored, United States. So these are characters. These are characters created to control the people. Wear the costume. Why do a person create a costume? For you to wear it. If you wear it, that's who you is. So if you wear a costume, you say you're Black, you got a costume on. You got a mask on. You Negro, you got a mask on. You Afro-American, you got a mask on. They're killing the character. See, they kill the character in our conscience and their own people conscious. So when the people see a Moor, right, they don't know about no Moor. They weren't taught in school about a Moor. All they were taught the Moors was over in Africa, the other side of the world. They live over there. They ain't not from over here. This is all been inhabited by my people. We ain't come off no boat. We been here. So what they do, they create infringing. It's called trap, tricks, and trades. They're trapping the people with tricks and trade. That's all they're doing. So as long as they get the people identified being Black, Negro, color, Afro-American, Latino, Puerto Rican, Cuban, as long as they get you to identify that, them names are not on the contract. They can't enforce anything because there's no Cuban on the contract. There's no Puerto Rican on the contract. There's no Latino on the contract. There's no Filipino on the contract. So they know, believe me, the well-groomed scholars who teach epistemology, etymology know this here. They know this there. That if you trick the person into saying, it's like a will being read. You go to a will reading, right? Your father wealthy, your mother father wealthy. They're billionaires. They call your name and you seem like a dummy. They call, excuse me, who's so-so? I don't know. I'm Smith. You don't know who the hell you are. You can't inherit nothing. You can't even raise the estate. You can't even come back and raise the estate as a people until you acknowledge who you are. So they're killing the character of the person, of the man and woman. They're killing the character. As long as the character is dead, there's no need of doing anything. I'm gonna show you what I mean. If a mother had 4 children, and all 4 of her children is taken away from her, and they get raised by somebody else, they're gonna look at the other one as their parent. They don't know who their mother is. So you kill the identity of their mother, who the real mother is. So if their children would go in the same way, identifying a fictitious parent under a fictitious name, they killed the character. So that's why when you say you're more, everybody, all of police forces, states are mad, not because you did something to them, because you are making a claim which they know they don't have jurisdiction. And think about it, they never ran across a claim like that. So to them, they was taught that you're a sovereign citizen. Why? Based on the misconceptions and actions of Moors. Misconception, actions, and talking of Moors put us to a situation we're a Jerry kid. we can't make a claim because Moors don't have misconceptions, misconceptions in talking, expression, and action. They mess us all up all around the board.
That's what's up, man.
It's long. And we're gonna this. I'm gonna go to this. This the preamble for the Japanese Constitution, and they identifying their people. And I just started to sit back and ponder on what's going on. You know, without I try to remove me want to be right or any emotion, who said it, and just look at the evidence or where you can support it. I don't see in the United States preamble, I don't see it identify the Moors. And everybody else preamble, it identifies the national people, but we different though, since we black folks and the Moors. That's it. So if Moors was at the the Constitutional Convention and they, on behalf of the Moroccan Empire, they wouldn't want to get Moors put, they didn't have that knowledge though. They had knowledge to be there, you know, and help frame up the United States Constitution, but they didn't have knowledge to insert the word Moor to make sure that they people protected. And we bought that and we good with that. We didn't go look at the Chinese Constitution, just to measure it. It's something else to, it's just because somebody said it and it came out on, you know, everybody, you know, whatever we get caught up in, we get caught up in on why we justify what we justify. But when you put it on the scales of Mayat and you measure, you have a sense of, that's why I love what's going on, because it gives you something to measure from. How could it be that it don't say Moors in the United States preamble? So just for its contract law and how contracts work, how do you protect the people that's not identified? Like, how could they, then they go to saying something else that gets you off of the topic? And so I just wanted myself, I wanted to look up the Japan Constitution just to see do it even mention Japanese people? Because I hear people say that, but I wanted to go see it for myself. So why are we different? Why don't we have a constitution that recognizes why are we so different? And how did it come like that? That we, without, like, we have no reasoning, you know, some of the people, countries more, when you try to talk to them just based off of love for the people,
Man, I love this brother, man. Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. Woo.
And
a thinker. Woo. Freedom is coming. A thinker. Damn, I love it.
And so I asked myself that, child. I sit back and I, you know, damn, we supposed to be love, truth, we, you know, freedom and justice and all of this, you know, but then when we bring this up, it's like you against somebody. You against the prophet. I just see the prophet wanting the best for his people. If there's a better way to set up the 3-point, I don't think Kobe Bryant will have a problem with it. You know, and I think we get caught up in whatever that is, you know, we get stuck in that, you know, we got to argue based on that rather than just looking what can be used and evidence that's available for us to propel ourselves forward. Just saying that Noble Drew Ali, I love him. I love everything that he did. But how I look at it, I'm just like, can I go to court and say that? That's all. I be really, because I've been to court. I tried to do stuff. I got, you know, I failed at a lot of stuff, got locked up behind certain stuff. But so me in court saying somebody said, that's not enough. You can't go to the boxing ring and say, anybody said anything. You have to go in there and box yourself. You have to go in there and be effective to be able to box against your opponent. You can't go in the boxing ring and say Muhammad Ali said in one of his interviews that if you do this, it means nothing to go say Noble Drew Ali said in court or in a venue. You need to go to what's well settled. Ain't that reasonable? And still take the concepts and principles that can be used to move forward, like love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I want to put that to a side, you know, because I can resonate with that, but I can't just resonate with us being Moorish American, then reading all the treaties, and you don't see these people being identified. And so I feel like that's something we'll grow out of, because it's not really based in anything. It's just that we didn't have the proper concepts, and we just got to keep pushing what's going on. And I'm doing this because we'll stop here. It's 9:30 now. We'll pick back up on the next study group. We've got a lot actually to go. But so we can open up some dialogue. But yeah, I run into that issue a lot. I see people arguing. You against the prophet, and they almost like they try to. It's like a divide and conquer. Like they almost being controlled. Like, are you listening to what I'm saying, or you just repeating? Will you take time to digest the scenarios like in chess? You make a move, then you look at what all the opponent can do. If we go to international community and say Moorish American, shouldn't we look at what all they can do if we make that claim when we know contract law and fact finding and the things that Brother King is teaching in the investigative committee? Will we we have to consider those things to be able to say what all can they use? If I say that I'm a Moorish American, what can be used against me or what can be used for me? If I say I'm Negro, black, and color, what can be used for me? What can be used against me? And we got to have that kind of reasoning, because if nothing can be based on somebody said, nothing that never happened. It's not based that whether it may be a need that fits the community. They may have said it, but what's more important that it fits a need in the community. And so it got to be more than what somebody said. It has to be what we're seeing here today. We're getting, evidence. We're seeing examples. We're hearing examples. We're looking at treaties, something that's well settled. We're reading thesis, and we're looking at dissertations from different law schools, and so what else can be used? So we got to have reasoning on when we insert ourselves in the international community. Well, you wouldn't even want to insert. If you said you was a more American, you wouldn't even have the thought process of inserting yourself in the international community, because you say that you're nationals of the United States. So you're blocked from. So that's how the weapons are being used. The propaganda, the media, the words, language, all of it's being used to keep us to capitulate, to surrender our natural human rights. We're surrendering them daily. Every day when we wake up, we're surrendering them. One, because we don't have knowledge of it. And then two, even the people that got knowledge of it are not executing the right principles. And so on both sides, we still, through action, we surrender, because it's the will of the people. It can't be done because a couple people said it. Because it has to be, you have to have your wazirs, your secretaries, your consuls, your head of states, your muftis, your etc., your emirates, and all this stuff got to be in place, so we have a sense of, we can't go against what needs to be going against individualized. Like, it has to be a system, it has to be a mode of operation to express what we're trying to do. It can't be done with it just can't be done. And so it helped me out when I looked at the Japan Constitution and the China Constitution, and I measured it, what I learned so far in the investigative committee. I said, damn, we got to be able to identify the parties. So if we got to identify the parties. So when you start identifying shit that don't exist, we got to look at that soundly. We got to look at that soundly, not because somebody said it, but we got to look at it, how does this help the children 50 years from today? How does this help the children 100 years, reparations? How would this help the children, Moorish American, the gun club where we out here pushing, we got a Second Amendment right to bear arms. How does that concept help the children 100, 200 years from today? And so it doesn't. All it does is, because they're not in a hurry. They're patient. They just gradually trying to keep us at bay. They have us celebrating Juneteenth. We good. You know what I mean? In our mindset, a lot of us, there's nothing to do. There's nobody to, you know what I mean? Like it's like we good, where we at. And so I just wanted to say that, and I'll go ahead and close. If anybody want to come on, just to say anything, we will resume on part 3. We'll go back into capitulation, and we'll read over some of that stuff that I mentioned earlier in the beginning, where we get more of an insight on capitulation in a sense of a silent weapon. The silent weapon is maintenance of the capitulation. The part of the capitulation is surrendering, and then the other part is us not meeting the obligation of the contract. So we're not meeting the obligation of the contract because capitulation deals with extraterritoriality, which has a consular needs to be in position in order to operate because of the capitulations. So if we're not meeting, if we don't have the Montevideo Convention, the rights and duties of states, and have that in order, we can't express the contract. We're not able to express what's in the contract. And so we're looking at two aspects. We're surrendering our authority to operate through the establishments of the treaties. We're surrendering that. We're giving that up. We're relinquishing it through acquiescence, through us not acting. And no matter what we really post, this is to facilitate it to the international community. But merely posting it on Facebook is not the answer. It's to facilitate the will of the people. It's a tool, an instrument for us to actually assemble, for us to actually have principles that can govern societies, which embody protection of the community, which embody us marching with guns. But just marching with guns is not enough. Having a gun club is not enough. So we're just tying all that in. So I hope that this presentation was, insightful for the listeners, and that we got something out of it, and that we'll continue to propel ourselves forward into action, into trust, into political unity, and moving forward. Because when we form the contract, we got to live on the contract. We got to be, we have to respect the contract. We can't just make a contract and then don't abide by it. So we have to be sincere and build trust amongst one another. And I digress with that. If anybody else want to come on and speak, feel free. Peace.
I just have one other question. In terms of nationality, when a person goes to fill out an application, is there an alternative as opposed to putting down African American or Black? Is there an alternative to that?
And so nationality is not,
or race, whatever they stipulated.
When we say nationality, we're not talking about just filling it out on the form. When we saying nationality, we're talking about sovereignty. We're talking about control of natural resources. We're talking about control of the education of our children. We're talking about patrolling our communities. We're talking to be able to protect that politically. So it being on the application is not the solution. So taking African American off of the application and put more on the application. Then now we check that, but then we still operate how we're operating. We don't have a state, we don't have a constitution, but more is on the application, but we don't have a state, we don't have a constitution, we don't have a treaty, we're not executing the Treaty of Liberty, we're not exercising, we don't have a seal, we don't have a voting election, public election of voting. Having more on the application wouldn't mean nothing. That's not the solution. That's not what we're saying here. And I'm not saying it like that, but I'm saying that's not taking African American off of the applications, putting more on there is not the solution.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
This brother is sharp as can be. He understands, quasi understands, truly understands the political application of nationality. Because what Quasi is saying is what conscious Moors have been taught to do. He's directing what conscious Moors for over 100 years have been taught to do, of taking colored off and putting more on there. African American, Negro. He is 100% correct. He understands the political. He's one of the few. There'll be many, to come, who understands the political application of nationality. This brother is qualified to be. He's an excellent teacher.
Appreciate it, Professor. Hey, I couldn't done it. Hey, I'm still growing. I couldn't done it without Moroccan Post School of Government and International Law. So if you all are listening, go to Moroccan Post Media. Be sure to subscribe. Go to Helping Our People Elevate. This is how it's happening. I didn't do it alone. I also one-on-ones. There people taking doulas and shims and the conos, taking time out. We're building, we're talking. So this is what it takes. And also just jumping out there trying to do the presentations. Making mistakes, going over it. You know, so you got to be, humility is a tool that you can use to project yourself forward. And so I couldn't have done it without the Abdullah. And I'm not saying I have done anything. I'm saying, but I wouldn't have gotten here had it not been for the proper concepts, and nothing has been done, you know, besides what you hear today. But it put me in the path of long-term comprehensive thinking on how we need to execute what we need to execute. I don't come here just to talk today. I try to live it. I try to become it, breathe it, and execute it without looking like boot food to food. So I do it a certain way. I don't just up and tell people they're not Negro, black, and colored. But go ahead, sister, if you want to add something.
Oh, I wanted to ask a question. I am pursuing law school, and I just took the LSAT this month, and I want to know what are some outside resources that would be helpful with me trying to pursue law school. I understand that law school don't really teach you law, and as a result, I'm trying to be prepared
I'm
to be able
All
to
right,
handle
let me
cases and things like that.
let me answer that.
Okay.
All right, all right. So, let's answer that. Law school doesn't really teach you law. Let's qualify. Now, you're not going to learn in law school in the United States schools jurisdiction. Moorish sovereignty. You're not going to learn Moorish nationality. You're not going to learn Moorish history. You're not going to learn Moorish culture and philosophy, Moorish customs in law school in United States jurisdictions. You're not going to learn that. What you'll learn is principles of contracts. You'll learn because the United States is a big system and heavily common law, which means judge-made law. There's 5 major legal systems in the world: common law legal system, civil law legal system, mixed law legal system, which mix of common law and civil law. You have customary law and religious law. You won't learn that in law school. You'll learn that if you were getting a PhD or study what's called jurisprudence. I want to provide clarity for you, sister, which I can do. Jurisprudence, which is the philosophy of law. You won't learn that in law school. That's jurisprudence. We go to get a PhD in jurisprudence. You will learn the philosophy of law, the foundation of legal principles. All right. So legal principles, you know, you're dealing with source of law, application of law, the rule of law, you know, and various others legal principles. So you'll touch some of that in law school, all right, but you'll learn principles of contract, you'll learn case law because it's heavy dealing with, because that's because United States is a common law legal system. You'll learn heavy with what's called stare decisis, heavy with case law. You'll learn how to use a law library. You'll learn how to look up cases. You'll learn how to draft depositions. You'll take a course, part of your 3rd-year law school, on mock trial. So you'll learn court etiquette. You'll learn how to draft motion pleadings. You know, motion pleadings and affidavits and writs. You'll learn that. But you will not learn Moorish sovereignty, Moorish treaties, Moorish customs. You know, you won't learn international law in law school. You would have to take get a specialty in a school or program that deals with international law. But if you were just going to a law school, unless you take, there's schools that specialize in international law in United States jurisdiction. All right, so you won't learn law. All attorneys don't know international law. All right, you won't you will you'll learn some legal principles. You'll learn stare decisis. Standing decision is a legal principle. All right, that deals with precedences. You'll learn that, and what's called stare decisis or precedents or case law. Case law. All right, you'll learn that. All right, but you won't learn to help our people. You won't learn that. So if you're talking about going to law school to help our people, but you don't know who you are, I mean, because to help our people, we need to learn international law as well, also legal principles. So you'll learn some, like I said, principles of contract. Depends on what your specialty is, if it's constitutional law or corporate law or entertainment law. All right, you would pick a particular specialty. Depends where you get have your internship, where you internship, and then where you'll learn your first job. You know what I mean? And so after you graduate, you land your first job. I mean, you might become a prosecutor, your first job, or you might become a defense attorney. All right, dealing with or labor law, or entertainment lawyer, or constitutional lawyer, or corporate law. All right, corporate law, you're dealing with learning about mergers. You'll learn about mergers in corporate law, wills and, trusts. All right, would that be your specialty on wills and trusts and mergers? All right, so it depends on where you plan with your specialty. All right, I trust that helped.
Yes, that was helpful.
And I post the link. It helps me learn a lot about international law, Moors and Masonry. One of the books I got displayed on the screen here, but if you go to that link, I just posted in the chat. You say, yes, I'm interested in international law and taking classes. So that'll help getting these books. This one here on the screen, and just go to the website. You can also check out, I don't know if it's maybe down.
Yeah, Moors and Masonry Part 2 will help helping international law, absolutely.
Yeah, here it is right here on the screen.
I was able to write this because of Shem. This was from studying with Shem. I was able to Moors and Masonry Part 2. He actually had a great value to Moors and Masonry Part 2, Part 1, because I only saw the treaties. As I was working on Moors and Masonry Part 1, I only saw the Moorish treaties that I have in Moors and Masonry Part 1 merely from a historical perspective, to show Moorish power. Since studying with Shem, I've since grown to the understanding of the treaty applications. So I now have the advantage of viewing the treaties from both a historical and law perspective. All right. Any other questions? But this book here, Moors and Masonry Part 2, The Power of Moorish Treaties and the Recovery of Lost Moorish Sovereignty, Quasi gave lesson on extraterritoriality. You won't learn that in law school. You won't learn extraterritoriality or the compensatory / extraterritoriality / extraterritorial consular jurisdiction. You won't learn that in law school. The United States State Department, United States State Department has 1,000 classes. So if you were to land a job, sister, in the United States State Department, you can take courses. There's 1,000 courses that you could take courses in the United States State Department. Doesn't matter what level you're on. You will be able to take courses in the United States State Department on international law. All right. So you will learn not international law by taking courses as you were employee of the United States State Department. But you won't learn more sovereignty. You won't learn, that won't help our people. Like you learning international law in the United States State Department won't help our people because you will be helping them. You're not going to learn more sovereignty because you have to learn more sovereignty. You have to have that concept and studying international law. you have to have the concept of who you are and who your people are. You have to understand these Moorish treaties, pre-existing Moorish sovereignty. Like a Chinese they're not gonna, all right, a Chinese, they're gonna learn Chinese jurisprudence. Means Chinese jurisprudence is Chinese standing decisions, Chinese customs. So they'll learn Chinese jurisprudence and learning the Chinese sovereignty, protect the interests of Chinese. They're in law school. That's right. So you're not, and studying in the United States State Department, you're not going to learn how to protect your people. These classes with Quasi's teaching, this is learning to protect your people. Because that's what it's about. I yield.
Anybody else? You want to give us some nuggets for tomorrow, Brother Kano or Brother El Kanan, or anybody want to say anything before we depart?
Yeah, like I said, I want to apologize for the wait, but like I said, it's going to be a great presentation, part 2. I don't want to go too deep into it, but we're going to finish. We're going to retouch on where we ended last presentation and get right back into it. So like I say, yeah, just tune in for a great presentation tomorrow.
Tomorrow at 7 o'clock, same link, same YouTube link, same Zoom link, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Central Time, and that will be 4 p.m. Pacific Time.